Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the decline of MSNBC. Apparently it is for sale. And this is kind of old news actually. It's resurfacing now because everybody's talking about the drop off in views since the election, since they got so catastrophically wrong. People are actually dipping out of MSNBC and they're dipping out of CNN. But Comcast has talked before about bundling up all of its cable networks and just selling them off. But I think this is definitely going to be the kill shot for them because it's like, yeah, you're not even bringing the views now. So get that.
And then the way they had a meltdown during the election thing, it was just like in the cattiness, and then they started the realization started to dawn on them, and they still couldn't even accept it. Some of them did, but the other ones were like, it's still everybody else's fault.
Yeah, pretty much. It's everybody else's fault. It's all the bigots and they're basically the attitude. There were a couple people on MSNBC and a couple people on CNN that were like, yeah, maybe it's us. Maybe we lost the plot. Maybe we need to really look at ourselves and our party. And then a lot of other people were just like, no, it's the voters who are wrong. It's the bigots and the Nazis. There's just a lot more of them than I thought there was.
Yeah.
We need to stay on the air to fight them.
Blame the men. Blame the minorities,
Blame the minority. Yeah, they were. They were actually blaming black men, blaming Latino men.
Think of the poor illegals. I mean, undocumented people, and it's like, really? Okay.
And now they're always out there, I was thinking all these journalists are out there begging for money now. I'm like, for 50 cents a day, you can bankroll a journalist.
I don't know. Well, MSNBC might not be, where it is now pretty soon.
I think Elon Musk was joking about buying it. That'd be hilarious. But let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, get woohoo if you do.
Woo!
So let's talk about them being up for sale first. We did talk about Comcast, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, saying they were going to end cable. I think it's one with the SpongeBob thumbnail. That all these different entities, Comcast and Paramount, whatever, they're going to bundle up their cable channels and sell them off.
Yeah, that was when I wasn't here because I was ill.
Oh, that's right. Yes. You were sick. Yeah. So this comes from the St. Vincent Times. It's over for the Democrats. Comcast to sell MSNBC and Oprah's Oxygen Network. I forgot that was even on. Says Comcast, the media powerhouse behind NBC Universal, is stirring up major buzz in the entertainment industry. They recently announced it's considering a significant move, separating several of its top cable networks, including MSNBC, CNBC, Bravo, and Oxygen. The revelation came from Comcast President Mike Cavanaugh during the company's third quarter earnings call. They said the cable cut era, why it's going to happen. They said basically cable's it can't survive.
Traditional TV they've decimated it.
Yeah, so I mean, we could go into this more. We did a whole video on it, but basically, linear TV is not getting the advertising revenue or the viewership.
No, all the advertising money is going to streaming
and podcasts and stuff like that. And that's why they hate us.
Well, that's because that's what the audience is, and they get so mad when you say that, like MSNBC and stuff like that. They get so pissed, but. You told me that somebody on Rumble, what person on Rumble had more views going on than MSNBC had over election coverage.
Yeah, I think it was Bongino. I think he was getting more. Yeah, he had more than MSNBC had. So
it's that people aren't listening to you anymore. No. They're tuned out because they think you're full of shit.
Why is AOC freaking out and trying to get a hit list of podcasts and YouTube channels that people are listening to? Because the Democrats lost the plot and they thought the mainstream media was it. And they're like dying on the vine here. So yeah, this is coming from the New York Times. This is as of yesterday. Viewers are fleeing MSNBC and they're flocking to Fox News in the wake of the election. I think a lot of people, finally woke up and realized that, like, oh my God, this country is a lot more conservative than we thought they were because the media controlled everything. Mm-hmm. The left-wing media controlled everything. And they tried to give the impression that the entire country was woke. And it really isn't. And just by going outside, unless you live, again, in like downtown Portland or something, or LA or whatever, like if you go outside and you talk to real people and you kind of get a feel for where they're at, most people are pretty normal.
Most people, they went red because if you look at the map, pretty much the big city areas were about the only places that went blue.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of people in the country went red.
Yep. So this is, let's see here. They're talking about Rachel Maddow opening her show on Monday night with a sobering
26-minute monologue. Oh God,
26-minute monologue.
Oh, I'm so glad I missed that.
Between deep sighs and she gets paid like $50 million a year. Did you know that? Like $50 million.
For what?
to do this.
She's like Debbie Downer, and I can't. She's just such a cow.
Between deep sighs and the occasional shake of the head, Ms. Maddow went through the people President-elect Donald Trump had named to his new administration. To say the least, she was not a fan of his selections, but it was important to go through them. She said, "It's better to be clear-eyed about these things and see them coming," she said, "than to be in denial or to be surprised by them when they come around."
Okay, so when the election was going on, true story, like I would watch Fox, we were on CNN, and then Neon kept going back to MSNBC because he wanted to see Rachel Maddow lose her shit. And that's why he kept watching. And it was funny because you could see the beginning. They were so, even I would say CNN, the same thing.
Smarmy.
They were very smarmy.
Yep.
Like, it's because the uneducated people vote for Trump, but, the educated people are going to win out. And American people, it's Harris. And this, their attitude was just very, we have this thing in the bag. And as the night went on and it became more and more clear they did not, just not everyone on these channels, I want to mind you. There was people that were just sticking to the facts and that was it. But like people like her and stuff, they were like, it was funny to watch because you could just see the air go out of the balloon. And then they just sitting there like, how did this happen? And then when people would speak up and say, well, maybe we were wrong, or maybe we weren't watching what we should, we weren't listening. And then when one person would say it, they'd all look at them like they had like a third eye. And it's like, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
You didn't see it coming because you only put yourself in your own echo chamber. $50 million to sniff your own farts, and you didn't talk to actual real people. You wouldn't talk to people, even if you heard from real people.
Our polls,
college, in select areas,
certain demographics, like all of these college educated, diverse women in downtown LA said they're going to vote for Harris.
Sure,
oh my God.
When they were on the ground talking to people, they got a lot of people telling them they're going to vote for Trump, but they didn't talk about those people. They just stuck with the ones who said Harris. We're hearing Harris. We heard Trump too, but we're not telling you that. I'm sure that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, anybody that was paying attention, like I had people pushing back on me when I said that I thought Pennsylvania was going to go red based on what I'm seeing around me. And it did, because I'm like, yeah, it's very clear. Like even in the Pittsburgh area, I did not see. I mean, I know it's not a super good indicator of where people are at, but I did not see the number of Harris signs that I saw for Biden and definitely for Hillary. Like there's Hillary signs all over the place.
Well, it's interesting because it said so that her show is their highest rated program.
Yeah.
And it drew 1.3 million viewers on Monday, which is about 1 million shy. It's almost half of what her average was, according to Nielsen. No, it's because I think people in general, especially the ones who've been listening to her and people like her and The View and stuff like that, they're leaving because they're like, we didn't see this coming because you lied to us.
Yes.
We didn't see this coming because you kept telling us she was going to win for sure, that Harris had it. And, you kept doubling down on stuff, which now has turned out that's coming out more and more that it wasn't necessarily truth. And some of the things that they kept saying, like telling people that, oh, come the day after Trump wins, you're going to have all these trouble. And then when it didn't happen, they're like walking it back and Biden's like, oh, it's going to be fine now. And they're like, but you told everybody it wasn't going to be fine. Now you're saying it's fine, And people are listening to this and they're like, but which is it? Because you told us this, and this is all going to happen. And it didn't, you lied. And that's how they're looking at it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. They talk about Fox News and they talk about the difference in coverage. And I remember like we were flipping between the networks on election night, and CNN was very kind of middle of the road and sober. MSNBC, it was like a funeral for a puppy. And then over at Fox News is like a freaking party.
But not
it was like
that,
Mardi Gras.
But interestingly, because they got in trouble last time with the election, Fox News was really slow to call things.
They were. CNN was calling it before Fox News.
Other people were calling it before Fox News was. Fox was actually, after everybody else would call something. So if you were watching Fox News, you had actually a picture that looked like, it was more like Harris was going to win, or not so much win, but like it was, you weren't getting the up-to-date information as you were other networks because they were hesitant to call it given what happened last election. So watching CNN or MSNBC, you actually knew what was going on earlier.
Yeah.
It was, the feet was, faster over there.
And the reality was kind of sinking in. I remember watching in 2016 and look, everybody remembers infamously that they had the party balloons and everything ready for Hillary.
Yes.
That was a slam dunk. And then just like, yeah, hey, she lost. How the hell? I was even like, how the hell did that happen? Like, how the hell did we elect Donald Trump over Clinton? Like, what the hell? But again, it was like I wasn't
listening for her either, though. So
I didn't vote that year.
I know, because I
was so pissed off.
I wasn't keen on either one. I thought that was mad they took it from Bernie. I was mad.
That was the problem I had too. I was.
And then Bernie went batshit. Now he went back to center again.
But now Bernie's on Fox News. Like, this is the bizarro world that we live in. Bernie's on Fox News. RFK and Tulsi get pushed out of the Democratic Party, and they side with Trump.
You would voted for either one of them.
Yeah.
You know, Gabbard, I would have voted for in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, I think she's great. Anyway, they said, MSNBC has averaged 550,000 viewers since Election Day, a 39% decline compared with the network's average in October.
Yikes.
And this is happening at CNN.
Because people think they're ground zero for being lied to. I mean, that's my opinion, but that's what I think is going on.
They said the opposite has happened at Fox. MSNBC's conservative rival, Fox's audience in primetime has grown 21% since last Wednesday, with an average of 3.3 million viewers, according to Nielsen's. Its total day audience has jumped up 38%. So everybody's jumping ship. They're going to Fox because they're like, well, you know, we were told to avoid Fox. We were told that they were like alt-right Nazis, but they actually got it right.
Yeah, when they were actually the ones that were being super cautious about what they were calling.
Yeah. And that's it. And people are going to jump ship. And I think a lot of people, like, you really need to look at who is giving you information. And for all this talk of misinformation, disinformation, it's like the mainstream media has been feeding you disinformation because they all got it wrong, save for a couple outlets. They got it wrong, and now it's the blame game. Like, how did we get it wrong? How did we get it wrong? It's like, no, you didn't want to report on the news. You wanted to make the news. You wanted to will it into existence. And that's what they've been doing for the last at least 10 years now, 12 years, is willing things into existence, convincing you that, basically gaslighting the audience and convincing them that things in the real world are very different than they actually are. And that's why
they fight so hard over losing control over social media platforms.
Yeah, and we're going to see, I think once the shock wears off, I think we're going to see these people try to either mimic the social media platform, because that's what AOC was getting at. Like, we need our own Joe Rogan. Like, well, Joe Rogan was one of yours, and guess what? You pushed him out of the party too. Like, that's all you do. Like, all the people you have that can reach across the aisle, you push them out. You drive them away.
Yeah, for your own choices. Yeah, like Harris didn't even get a primary. Never got any votes in a primary.
No.
And, you know, just anointed. And I think a lot of Democrats are mad about that. Like, they felt like they didn't have a choice.
Oh, my God. So now people, in the wake of the result, people are probably turning to self-care. It's like post-traumatic stress disorder of some kinds. There's this guy from Norman Lear Center, the Norman Lear Center in the University of Southern California. You don't want to go back to the scene of the explosion.
They're playing with Legos and crayons in their safe space at colleges and Yale.
They are, but not in the numbers. It was on, because I watch The Hill on YouTube sometimes, and that was actually started by, I want to say Bernie Sanders' campaign manager or something. But they were talking about it, and they were like, yeah, there's not as many, you know, Gen Z in the safe spaces as there were millennials in the safe spaces. In fact, a lot of Gen Z, confusingly, and they were confused by it. They're like, confusingly, a lot of them voted for Trump. Like, they're cool with Trump. But the millennials, they're the ones having a hard time with it. CNN, he says averaged 413,000 viewers since last Wednesday. There are YouTube channels and Rumble channels that get more than that in the live stream. And they don't cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. Well, CNN, I did a video. You weren't on that video, but they're going to disembowel CNN. They're going to lay hundreds of people off, and they're basically going to demand that the talking heads do their own work.
Well, it's funny to me because CNN, I mean, ever since, you know, Warner Bros. Came in, like they had that CNN, it was good, like, was it Plus or whatever, and that lasted a month, and they spent like $500 million on it. And they keep saying they're going to go back. Now, CNN, to be fair, they seem to be trying to go back more to newsy stuff. Like, I know they're the ones that pointed out that Harris was running two different ads, one pro-Palestine, one pro-Israel, depending on where she was at. They're the ones that caught that, reported that. I was like, wow, they're doing a journalism? It's a miracle. But, they've been throwing all kinds of money at CNN, and they keep losing money. They keep gutting it. Now they're going to gut it more, I guess. But, you know, and then they said MSNBC actually beat out CNN. During the election for viewership, which I thought this is the first time ever.
What's interesting though is they're expecting another, they call it the Trump bump. Like, people were in shock that he won in 2016. They're not as shocked this time. They said they don't think there's going to be a Trump bump. They think that people are going to be like, well, I guess it's just happening again. That's it. It's like the people that are going to bitch and moan about it, they're going to go over to blue sky and piss and moan. Mm-hmm. But like normies, the people, middle America, they're like, well, I guess we're just doing this again.
Well, that's not going to work this time to try to trigger them because you just did it again. You lied to them again. So they're fleeing MSNBC because you're like, you just lied to us this whole time. We were sure that Harris is going to win because of what you told us. And then you were wrong. And they said the same thing with Fox in 2020. You know?
Yeah.
So
they said people are exhausted about all the Trump news for and against. And I think what's going to happen, unless everything winds up being an absolute freaking dumpster fire disaster, and some people are going to paint it that way, even if it isn't, just because they don't like them. But I think we might just kind of swing back to center, and people are just going to be like, you know what? Let's just like get on with life and stop obsessing about politics.
But we're not going to be allowed to because now as soon as the powers shift and it goes back into right after election, and they switch everybody over. Immediately, it's campaigning for the next election.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what pisses me off as an American citizen is they don't get anything done because they're too busy infighting each other over the next election and trying to stop each other, even on good ideas, because of the next election. And it's like, maybe, here's a thought. Maybe do your fucking job because you're voted in there for a job, not to campaign and not to stop things that are helpful for American people while you take a paycheck and then pat yourselves in the back for being, for your dumbassery and being like, well, we stopped that, even though it could have benefited people. Because you're trying to like stay to party lines and make sure you get elected next time, or that we have to start campaigning for elections. So we gotta make sure we put a big show on. Your job is to work together to get shit done, and your job is to serve the American people, not the other way around. But you're so busy serving yourselves and like sniffing your own farts that nothing gets done. And then you take how many vacations and breaks? How many times people don't even show up? And nothing gets done, and then people are left in a shittier position, and then you're like, next time, why you worry about who's going to win next election? Maybe do your job, and you'll win based on merit.
There we go. Gonna wrap it up?
Yes.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Join the reef. Go to clownfishminus.com. That's clownfishminus.com. You will get exclusive access to podcasts and videos and comic strips and more, as well as merch discounts. Check it out. If you were a member, you could get this t-shirt, this dismal t-shirt on our website. You'd get a 10% discount on that. You can also join in the community on clownfishminus.com. Thank you so much for the support.